Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. The CEO and Chairman of Global Equine Services and Business GISB Group were among 22 individuals charged in court today for being a part of an organised crime group. Datuk Nasiruddin Muhammad Ali, his wife Azura Ahmad Yusof and Adib At-Tamimi, the son of Al-Arkam founder Ashari Muhammad, pleaded not guilty when charged at the Selayang Sessions Court along with 19 others.
The group, consisting of 13 men and 9 women, acknowledged the charges after they were read individually before Judge Lailatul Zuraida Harun. No pleas were recorded as the case falls under the Security Offences (Special Measures Act 2012 or SOSMA, placing it under the High Court's jurisdiction. The accused, aged between 27 and 72, face charges under Section 130V(1) of the Penal Code, which carries a penalty of 5 to 20 years in prison upon conviction. Separately, Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein confirmed that more than 30 additional individuals linked to GISB, currently detained under SOSMA, are still under investigation. Authorities are also tracking down other members connected to the group. Meanwhile, Razaruddin said police are probing claims that certain parties are monitoring shelters housing children rescued during Op Global, which involve GISB. About 560 children are currently staying in shelters following a court-issued 2-month temporary custody order secured by the Social Welfare Department.
Meanwhile, a total of 55 children linked to GISB have been returned to their verified guardians. According to the Women, Family and Community Development Minister, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, the process was done based on the law and through a court order. Previously, Nancy said that valid documents for verification, such as birth certificates and identity cards, are required for the Social Welfare Department to release the children into their parents' custody. The government has seized a total of 13.8 million litres of subsidised diesel with an estimated 31 million ringgit between January till October 19th this year. Domestic Trade and Cost of Living KPDN Minister Datuk Armizan Muhammad Ali says this is via 30,634 inspections under Optiris 3.0.
The inspections involved the ministry as well as other enforcement agencies, which uncovered 1,561 cases involving diesel misappropriation. Armizan further said the ministry had initiated 6 investigations under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act since January.
Itu tentang kawalan di kawasan sepadan, bidang kuasa sebenarnya adalah melibatkan JIM, JKDM, Jabatan Perkhidmatan Kuarantin dan Pemeriksaan Malaysia, MAKIS dan JPJ serta Kementerian Kesihatan. Namun begitu, bermula 20 Januari 2024, KPDN telah menempatkan pegawai penguatkuasa secara pentadbiran di 8 pintu masuk.
Armizan was responding to question pertaining the ministry's efforts to combat misuse of subsidized diesel, particularly at the borders and in areas along Sabah and Sarawak.
Meanwhile, an interim report on the separation of powers between the Attorney General and the Public Prosecutor is expected to be completed next year. Law and Institutional Reform Minister Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Said says the report follows the completion of an ongoing empirical study on the matter.
Dan bila kita melihat kepada kajian pengasingan peranan peguam negara dan pendakwa raya masih dalam proses dan insya-Allah pada tahun depan harapannya empirical research yang dilaksanakan, satu laporan interim boleh dimasukkan bagi status tentang peranan peguam negara dan pemisahan peguam negara dan juga pendakwa raya.
The AG currently serves as the government's chief legal advisor and the head of public prosecution. In August last year, Azalina announced that the government would undertake a comprehensive study within a year before finalizing the proposal for the separation of powers. She said about 19 existing laws as well as the federal constitution would need to be amended to implement this.
AWANI International is your gateway to global news, insights and stories that matter. From breaking headlines to in-depth analysis, stay connected with the world right here where you won't miss a beat.
macam mana Gunakan Pantene baharu dengan provitamin mikro yang meresap dan menguatkan rambut dari dalam. Rambut 10 kali lebih kuat terhadap rambut gugur. Pantene baharu.
AWANI International is your gateway to global news, insights and stories that matter. From breaking headlines to in-depth analysis, stay connected with the world right here where you won't miss a beat.
Penyasaran subsidi diesel di Semenanjung tidak akan memberi kesan kepada harga barangan keperluan di Sabah, Sarawak dan Labuan.
660 individu berusia bawah 21 tahun di Sarawak telah diberikan kewarganegaraan.
Sarawak kini menjalinkan kerjasama dengan Bank Dunia dalam menjayakan perdagangan karbonnya.
The government will roll out its long-awaited subsidy rationalisation program for RON95 petrol by mid-next year. Dr. Debashri Ghosh from Taylor's University discusses strategies for effective implementation to ensure the right groups are recognised for the assistance.
The only problem with such income-based categorization or subsidization is actually recognizing individuals who deserve it. Now, if we go by fleet cards, yeah, of course, diesel subsidy fleet cards were obviously there. But if you follow on what happened, the initial reaction was the issue of the fleet cards had to go through so many ministries and issuing. There was a delay in issuing, so on and so forth. But when the inflation figures came in, the inflation figures did not show any increase in inflation, not much increase in inflation. One of the reasons being there was a lot of exclusion for diesel subsidization. And also, if you look at the CPI index, diesel only accounts for 0.2% of the CPI basket. So the weightage is very low. Whereas the stakes of the petrol subsidy is quite high. It's 5.5%. So any misguided or misspecified implementation of the subsidy could backfire very bad. So if we do go by the fleet card model and we want to ensure that everybody who deserves it has a fleet card and can use and get the subsidy. So if I'm looking at gig workers or somebody who's working in a factory and who has no idea how to register for that fleet card, then he or she also loses the right to having the subsidized fuel.
With the T15 group and foreigners accounting for 40% or 8 billion ringgit of the petrol subsidies, Dr. Debashri highlights areas where these savings could be redirected.
One, of course, is healthcare. So in Malaysia, actual proper healthcare and even simple things like cancer hospitals are not available in all states, right? It's very difficult. The detection is late. There is high mortality. So things like healthcare availability for the normal people, local people, is very important. Second, of course, is education. One thing that was very surprising in this budget was there was a talk of not focusing on mega projects. Now, it's of course helpful with the subsidization being moved away from T15, so on and so forth. But what it also does is introducing things like minimum wages, right? So from 1,500 to 1,700. So this is going to hit the firms. This is going to hit the suppliers. So if we also take away the infrastructure development plans or the mega project planning, okay, then it would not be good for the suppliers for that matter. So if this saving that Malaysia would have, with respect to this subsidization, targeted subsidization, first, of course, definitely healthcare. Second, education. And then, of course, at some point in time, we have to go back to our mega projects.
On to the international front, Donald Trump's campaign has filed a complaint to the US Federal Election Commission, accusing the UK's Labour Party of election interference. The complaint cites media reports of meetings between Labour and the Kamala Harris campaign, as well as volunteer work by Labour activists in the US. The campaign called for an immediate investigation into what it described as illegal foreign national contributions made by the Labour Party and accepted by Harris for president. US law states that foreign nationals cannot be paid to participate in campaign activities. The Trump campaign highlighted a LinkedIn post last week by Labour's head of operations, Sophia Patel, in which she said there were 10 slots available for anyone interested in heading to the battleground state of North Carolina. She also wrote that nearly 100 current and former staff members were travelling to the US to campaign for Harris. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer sought to play down the alleged interference, saying his party has long sent volunteers to US elections. With less than 2 weeks to the November 5th elections, Trump and Harris remain neck and neck in the polls. The former long-time CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch has been charged with sex trafficking and prostitution involving dozens of men. Authorities allege that Mike Jeffries, his partner Matthew Smith, and a third individual ran an international sex trafficking organization coercing men into sexual acts, often for the promises of a modeling career with the clothing retailer.
The lawsuit also accused Abercrombie & Fitch of financing the trafficking operation during Jeffries' 2 decades at the company. Federal prosecutors said victims were flown to international hotels in cities like London and Italy, as well as to Jeffries' homes in New York, where they were pressured to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants. A total of 15 victims were named in the indictment, but prosecutors alleged the operation involved dozens of men. Following a court appearance, Jeffries was released on a $10 million bond, while Smith was released on a $500,000 bond. They are due back in court on Friday.
Over in India, a dense smog has engulfed New Delhi as severe air pollution returns to the Indian capital ahead of the winter season. As of Wednesday morning, the city recorded a very poor air quality index of 354, and the daily average is expected to remain in this category in the coming days. In response, authorities have taken measures to curb pollution, including sprinkling water on roads to reduce dust, raising parking fees to discourage car use, and boosted public transport services. In the northern state of Haryana, at least 16 farmers have been arrested for illegally burning paddy stubble to clear their fields. Delhi battles pollution each year as temperatures fall and cold air traps construction dust, vehicle emissions, and smoke from neighbouring states. Air pollution is expected to worsen, particularly during Diwali, which falls on November 1st, when fireworks are a traditional part of the celebrations. That wraps up Awani Tonight. Before we end, a reminder that Awani International is now live on Astro Awani's web portal. Astro Awani's revamped English platform delivers in-depth global news and expert analysis to keep you informed on the critical events shaping our world. All in one place at international.astroawani.com. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Good night.